Magneto, X-Men. Magneto wasn't always that helmet-wearing metal bender everyone feared. Born Max Eisenhardt, later known as Erich Lenzher, he survived the horrors of Auschwitz as a kid after losing his entire family to the Nazis, and that unimaginable trauma rewired the way he saw the world. But here's the twist. He didn't see himself as some mustache-twirling villain. In his mind, he was Earth's mutant dad. Mutants were Homo superior, the next step in human evolution, and he believed they deserved better than being hunted down by scared humans with pitchforks and torches. For Magneto, everything was defensive mode, activated. He saw humans as a ticking time bomb that would one day try to wipe out mutants, just like the Nazis wiped out Jews. That fear consumed him so much that he probably magnetically clung onto it every night like a comfort blanket. If violence was needed to stop another genocide, Magneto was like, hand me my helmet. But here's where it gets messy. To protect mutants, he kind of kidnapped innocent people, launched missiles, and almost committed genocide himself. You know, the usual Tuesday for Magneto. Even after getting punched around by the X-Men, thrown in mutant jail, and stripped of his powers, he never let go of his mission. Society saw a monster, but really he was just a traumatized, metal-bending dad trying to keep his mutant kids safe and accidentally becoming the villain when peace didn't work out. In the end, Magneto wasn't evil for why he fought. He just seriously needed a therapist to help him figure out how to fight without blowing up half the world. Killmonger Black Panther.
It's beautiful.
Killmonger's real name was N'Jadaka, but let's be honest, Eric Killmonger Stevens just sounds way cooler on a military badge. Born in Wakanda but raised in Oakland, California, his life took a dark turn when his father was killed. So what did he do? He became a Black Ops soldier with more confirmed kills than he had friends. But behind all those military medals was a kid carrying deep trauma, from losing his dad to witnessing racial injustice every single day. To Killmonger, Wakanda's secret life of luxury felt like a betrayal. While they hid their vibranium and lived in peace, black communities worldwide were left to suffer under systemic oppression. His plan was simple. Well, Killmonger's simple. Steal Wakanda's throne, grab some vibranium, and arm oppressed people everywhere to rise up against their oppressors. In his mind, this wasn't villainy. It was justice with an attitude. But here's where things went off the rails. To take the throne, he murdered Zuri, burned the sacred heart-shaped herbs, which was basically the Wakandan version of destroying the entire Starbucks supply chain, and nearly launched a global revolution soaked in blood. His methods were so extreme, even his potential allies were like, bro, chill. In the end, T'Challa defeated him, but true to his bold spirit, Killmonger refused to be locked up. He chose death over bondage, declaring he'd rather die free than live in chains. People often see him as just another angry villain, but behind that rage was a man fueled by real injustice and generational pain. His downfall wasn't why he fought, it was that he turned his righteous anger into a bulldozer, flattening compassion and diplomacy along the way. Roy Batty Blade Runner.
All those moments will be lost in time like tears in rain.
Roy Batty wasn't just some killer robot on the loose. Nope. He was a Nexus 6 replicant, basically an ultra-advanced bioengineered human built to do all the dangerous work off-world that actual humans were too scared or lazy to do. But here's the cruel twist. He was designed with an expiry date. 4 years. That's it. Imagine being built like a Greek god but knowing you'll be gone before your first wrinkle. At his core, Roy just wanted what every living being wants. More time. So he heads back to Earth with his fellow replicants on a mission to find his creator, Dr. Eldon Tyrell, and basically goes, "Hey, Dad, any chance you can add a few extra years to my life warranty?" But when Tyrell says no, Roy snaps. He kills him out of rage, despair, and sheer terror at his own looming death. Yet, despite his violent outbursts, Roy wasn't just some murderous machine. In his final moments, as he's dying in the rain, he actually saves Deckard from falling to his death. Instead of letting his enemy drop like a sack of potatoes, he chooses mercy. That's the heartbreaking part. People only saw him as a dangerous replicant on a rampage, ignoring the truth. He was a sentient being fighting for dignity, life, and freedom. And who can forget his tears in rain monologue? There he was, dying, talking about memories lost forever, leaving everyone thinking, dang, this replicant's deeper than my entire friend group combined. Roy Batty was like a tragic reminder of our own fear of mortality, and proof that sometimes, even killer robots just want a little more time to watch the sunrise. Darth Vader Star Wars. Darth Vader was once Anakin Skywalker, a gifted Jedi Knight with a strong sense of justice. But his fall to the dark side wasn't driven by greed or hatred alone. It came from love and fear. Anakin wanted to protect his wife, Padme, from dying, and believed that by gaining more power he could save her and stop the Galactic Republic from collapsing. His intentions were disturbingly understandable. He couldn't bear the thought of losing those he loved. As Darth Vader, he believed that strict order was the only way to keep the galaxy from falling apart. Sure, his version of strict order included force-choking people mid-sentence and blowing up planets, but hey, details. Serving Emperor Palpatine, he thought he was creating peace, just the kind built entirely on fear and oppression. But here's the dark truth. His methods crossed every moral line imaginable. He hunted down Jedi and enforced tyranny without blinking behind that mask, and became the galaxy's ultimate nightmare fuel. To most people, he looked like a cold, heartless machine with zero humanity left. But that wasn't the end of his story. When Luke showed up and basically said, "There's still good in you," Vader's true self resurfaced. He sacrificed himself to save his son, and took down Emperor Palpatine in the process. Underneath all that shiny black armor was still Anakin, the man who loved deeply and wanted to protect. Loki, Marvel Cinematic Universe.
I'm Loki. You may have heard of.
That was for New York.
I like her.
Loki was born a frost giant, basically a giant blue icicle, but he was raised as Odin's adopted son in Asgard. Growing up, all he wanted was to catch his dad's attention, but Odin and everyone else were too busy cheering for Thor as he smashed things with his hammer. Despite being smarter than half of Asgard combined, Loki always felt like the spare sibling. All he really wanted was to be seen, to be loved, and to finally step out of Thor's golden spotlight without getting blinded. From his perspective, all his schemes and betrayals weren't just because he woke up thinking, "Let's ruin everyone's day today." Nope. They were survival tactics. In a world where he felt powerless and invisible, manipulating people and controlling situations made him feel like he finally mattered. When he tried to take over Asgard or Earth, it wasn't pure evil. It was more like, hey, if I rule everything, maybe someone will actually love me for once. But his methods were problematic, to say the least. He manipulated people, attacked innocents, unleashed giant aliens on New York, a typical day for Loki, you know. Sadly, every scheme just pushed people further away, reinforcing his belief that he was destined to be the villain. But Loki's story isn't all betrayal and chaos. Over time, he showed he could change. In Thor, Ragnarok, and Infinity War, he stood with the heroes. And in the end, he sacrificed himself to save Thor. Sure, he was a schemer with a flair for dramatic entrances, but behind all that mischief was a wounded soul just searching for a place to belong. Severus Snape, Harry Potter.
There will be no foolish wand-waving or silly incantations in this class.
Severus Snape, Hogwarts resident bat-like potions master with hair so greasy it could fry an egg. Most students saw him as the ultimate villain, snarky, cold, and always ready to deduct points from Gryffindor just for breathing too loudly. But behind that dramatic billowing cloak was a story no one saw coming. Snape was born to a magical mother and an abusive muggle father, growing up in a home that felt like the inside of a Dementor, cold, dark, and utterly joyless. Magic became his escape, but so did the dark arts, like a rebellious teenager listening to metal in their room all day. Then came Lily Evans. She was his ray of light in an otherwise gloomy life. His love for her was deep, awkward, and completely one-sided. When Lily was killed by Voldemort, Snape's entire world shattered. Worse, he blamed himself because it was his tip-off that put her in danger in the first place. From that day on, protecting Harry became his life's secret mission, even if Harry reminded him daily of what he lost. His snappy insults, cold glares, and bullying weren't just him being mean, well, sometimes they were, but they were his armor to hide his real job as a double agent, risking death every day to spy on Voldemort for Dumbledore. To students, he was just that bitter teacher ruining their childhood. In reality, he was keeping them alive. Snape's end was as tragic as his life. Voldemort killed him, thinking it would give him control over the Elder Wand. In his last moments, he gave Harry his memories, revealing the truth. Every insult, every risk, every lonely day was driven by a promise to the woman he loved, to protect her son, no matter how much it hurt him. Megamind, Megamind.
Presentation!
Megamind was a blue alien baby who crash-landed on Earth. But while Metro Man landed in a mansion with loving parents, Megamind ended up in prison. Growing up surrounded by criminals and getting bullied everywhere, he thought, if the world sees me as bad, maybe that's all I can be. For Megamind, being a villain wasn't about hatred. Every time he kidnapped Roxanne or built a death ray, it wasn't to hurt people. It was to feel important. Being the villain gave him purpose, a role where he was finally seen. Deep down, he didn't want to conquer Metro City. He just wanted someone to see him as more than a blue-headed mistake. When he finally defeated Metro Man, he didn't celebrate like a true evil mastermind. Instead, he felt empty. Turns out sitting alone on a villain throne isn't that exciting when there's no one to share it with. But everything changed when his own creation, Titan, turned into a real threat. That's when Megamind realized true evil wasn't fun, it was terrifying. So he stepped up to save Metro City, proving he was never truly a villain. Megamind's story shows that sometimes those labeled as villains are just lonely people who never got the chance to be heroes. All he wanted was a connection, and in the end, he found it. Thanos Avengers Infinity War.
I am inevitable.
Thanos was a Titan warlord whose home planet collapsed under overpopulation and chaos. Watching his people starve while everyone ignored his warnings convinced him the universe needed balance, and he was just the guy to snap it into place. For Thanos, wiping out half of all life wasn't about power. He genuinely thought he was doing everyone a favor. With all 6 Infinity Stones, one snap and boom, instant universal population control. In his mind, he wasn't a genocidal maniac. He was basically the universe's strict but loving dad saying, "This hurts me more than it hurts you." His dedication was so intense that he even sacrificed his favorite daughter, Gamora, to achieve his plan. For him, that proved he was serious about this save the universe business. But here's where his plan fell apart. Randomly erasing half of life created total chaos. Families vanished, societies crumbled, and ecosystems went out of whack faster than a broken washing machine. People see Thanos as the ultimate villain, but behind that massive chin was just a tragic hero with really, really bad ideas. Speaking of bad ideas, Trevor Henderson's monsters are also massive, terrifying, and impossible to ignore. Wait till you see their insane size comparisons explained in just 8 minutes next.